Welcome everyone. For these lectures, it is 2 hours, so I may take few minutes break in between, around an hour. Okay, so I'm following strictly according to this so-called syllabus content for topic 1. You can see item 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on. It goes down. So I will be following this accordingly in the presentation of the lectures. So I'm covering topic 1 for the first 6 weeks, and then I'm taking group 5, 6, 7, 8 for the tutorial session. Then from week 7 to week 12, Mr. Azrin will be taking your topic 2 and topic 3. And then he will be taking the tutorial group 1 to 4. Okay, so this is the planning for this subject by the universities, because they have 2 lecturers sharing this subject. Okay, so basically for these subjects, you need a good background of your basic contract, which I think you cover in your year 1, and then in your year 2 or could be year 3, you're studying the construction law. Okay, so now this subject, professional practice and procedure, is the application of the basic contract and your construction law. But the contract is not a normal so-called business contract. The contract that we are dealing under this professional practice and procedures is basing on the construction contract. Okay, that is on standard forms and also a non-standard form. Okay, but what we are going to learn and pick up the knowledge for this so-called professional practice 3 is based on our local standard form. Okay, there are a few types of standard form we are going through afterwards, and then you have to focus on one of them first. In this case, I select the PAM 2018 as the reference for you to understand, because it is impossible within the few hours of lectures per week to cover all the standard form. But once you have a good grounding of the standard form on one of them, you have to make use of that knowledge and then to read up other standard form and see how are they modified or fine-tuned to suit that particular type of contract. Okay, so I repeat, it is impossible for you to study all the standard form of contracts within these few hours of the lectures and tutorial. Okay, but I will expose to you there are many standard form in Malaysia and all over the other Commonwealth countries. The standard forms are there. So this is the background. Okay, so by the way, I believe I introduce you myself. I'm Lim. So if anything you want, now you can always check my email and also my handphone, which I already uploaded now to the Weibo. So for those to follow these lectures and future tutorials, you must go to visit your Weibos very often. A lot of the information are uploaded to the Weibo for this particular subject. So if you have any query that you want to ask, I hope you can make use of my email and also my handphone contact through WhatsApp, or maybe sometimes urgent matters to a phone call is okay with me. Okay, so this is something for you to think about. Yeah, so now today I don't know why I can't on my so-called video so-called the point. So I just don't know why. So I believe only through listening to my speech or presentation, hopefully that you can pick up the basic knowledge on this particular subject. Okay, so please remember, to understand standard form within one sitting or within one session of listening is not easy, because you have to read through many times to be able to understand the gist of what the content, the issues are all about. Okay, so you need to go to revision and read out further information for those are the terms that you're not familiar, then you can get a better understanding. So I repeat, these subjects is no way that you can do well by last minute reading. It is impossible, because this subject is the application of your basic knowledge that you learn in year 1, year 2, and now it is in most of you are in year 4. Okay, for your understanding of this part in relation to your contract. Okay, so without much further ado, I will continue now with the lecture proper. Okay, so today we are going to look into standard forms, and then the roles and responsibility of the parties under the contract. That means the contract here means standard form is established under the standard form. The contract as so-called required under the standard form. This is what we're going to do. If you got extra, if you got time, then I will go to contractor's design work. Okay, so now under this so-called 1.1, you need to understand, okay, why standard form is being used in a lot of the construction contract. Okay, so please remember the standard form of contract, that what is written here, like for example, the latest one in Malaysia will be your PAM 2018 that is being used in the private sector, which I re-upload to you already. So you can see, and then the old version is PAM 2006. I believe when you graduate, you will be handling project still under PAM 2006. So the beauty is this: the difference between PAM 2018 and PAM 2006 is very minor. I even upload these two documents for you. The difference between PAM 206 and PAM 2018. They are minor, so-called refinements only. Okay, so this is the difference, slight difference between PAM 2018 and PAM 2006. But for the current studies, I focus on PAM 2018. Okay, so another type of standard form that is can be used for private sector is your CIDB 2000. Okay, so this CIDB 2000 is created, but unfortunately it's not popular. Okay, so this is more towards our local contract. Okay, you're using PAM or CIDB for private sector, and even private sector, there is the so-called FIDIC. Okay, so FIDIC 1999 is the old version, and now we have the 2017. Okay, so this is the current version. Okay, so the current one is 2017. That is the FIDIC. Okay, so you can see the change between the old and the new. So same case for your private sector, you have your PAM 2018 and FIDIC 2017 is international. This one is local. Okay, and then the other one is for public sector. That is the government sector. More often than not, you have your JKR 203. Okay, so the word here A here means with quantity. Same case, your PEM, we have your PEM with quantity, PEM without quantity. Okay, so later on we go into the contract. We understand the difference between with quantity and without quantity. Or you may be covering this under your PPP 1 and PPP 2 already. Okay, so now I won't be going to all this again. Okay, so similarly, you have your FIDIC. Red book is for international project. If the government implement international project, so they may have to use the FIDIC. Okay, if there is a red book, they got the yellow book, they got the silver book, and so on. So FIDIC is an international contract. Red book is especially for the construction industry. Okay, it's more towards the for construction. Because the other books they have for chemical, they have for electrical and so on. Okay, so this one is specifically for construction projects. Okay, yeah, for the current studies, we are focusing on PAM 208, 218 as a base reference. So as we go along, there's a possibility that the notes are still in 2006. I will amend accordingly as we go along. Okay, we amend accordingly as we go along. Okay, so now, apart from your so-called traditional or standard form, there's another type we call it the non-standard form of contract. So non-standard form of contract are contract documents prepared specifically for a project. And the name of that, we call it the bespoke type of document. Okay, they are called bespoke contract or bespoke type of form. It's a non-standard. We call it bespoke. Okay, the word here is bespoke, specially designed for. Bespoke means specially designed for. Okay, yeah. So apart from the construction industry, there are others non-construction industry. They have their own standard form. Okay, so for example, you have your motor industry, you have your government bodies, oil and gas. These are non-construction industries, but they also implement their contract. Okay, so these are the basic introduction to the types of standard form available in the industry, construction and non-construction. So today onward, we are focusing on construction industry and make use of the PAM 2018 as the base reference. Okay, so now the reasons for using standard form. So why you need to study the reason? Because it will be helpful to understand the strength and weakness and so on. Okay, so these are the first thing that you need to look into. Why the need for standard form? Basically, you can see if you don't have a standard form, you will be having problems in terms of interpretation. So it provides the basic legal framework for the parties that are involved. Okay, so this is the point number one. And the point number two, to provide a mechanism to regulate the conduct between the parties in the commercial manner. Okay, that is the second one. And then the number three is to provide the administrative procedures on how to administer the contract. So all the terms and conditions are reflected within the standard form or the documents that are used to form up your so-called contract. Okay, so it helps to speed up the contract negotiation, because if you don't have a standard form, every sentences in the contract need to be reviewed, studied in a very micro manner. So with standard form, negotiation of the contract is very speedy because everyone knows the content, the purpose of the terms and conditions within the standard form, because it's been used in a very wide manner. Okay, and then the other one, the standard form will establish the power and the duties of the parties involved, especially the contract administrator. Okay, so not only establish the ambit of the power and duties of the contract administrator, it also established the ambit of the powers and duties of the owner of the contractors and so on. Okay, so this is more focused on contract administrator because this is a very particular key person. In short here is CA, the contract administrator, so that the contract can be administered properly. Okay, yeah. So why standard form is needed? This is another important purpose. Okay, so that there is no need to redraft the document again and again because it's already readily available and already filtered by professional already. Okay, so there is no redrafting. To redraft a contract document, you need specialists, you need legal expert. It is very, very costly. Okay, so this one, no redrafting is required. And to get the standard form, you just have to go to the local so-called office, like PAM, to get your PAM 2008. To go to your JKR office, you can get the JKR 203 at a very nominal price for a set of the document. Okay, yeah. Next, you have certainty in your tendering. The reason is this, because the terms and conditions are written there. The people that are using it are very, very familiar already. Then they know the risk when this type of contract is being used or the standard form is being used. Let's say using FIDIC, what are the risks belongs to the contractor, employer, consultants, and so on. Okay, so or using PAM, the risk people already know. Now, what are the risks belongs to the employer, to the contractor, and the designer. Okay, so if these are known, then the parties will be able to hello. So the parties could be able to price the documents quicker and easier. Okay. So standard form, if drafted already, more often than not, as I mentioned earlier, the risks allocated to the various parties are known. Okay. And also, the standard form provide a platform for easier communication between the owner or the client and the contractor. Okay. So a lot of the dispute could be minimized. That is the whole purpose. Okay. Yeah. And lastly, the standard form treats all the participants, that means the contracting parties, okay, in a uniform manner because they are consistent. So these are the why the needs of standard form. Okay. So the next area you need to look into will be the pros and cons of using the standard form. Okay. So these are the advantages of pros. So what are they? So the standard form is being arrived after a series of negotiation among the industry players. Okay, so the terms, the conditions, everybody are familiar, and also it acts as a compromise between the various powerful interest parties. Okay, so that means the standard form acts as a moderating document. It cannot be one parties within the contract is so strong, and then the other party, they are so-called, the risk to them is very high. Okay? So the next advantage you can see is widely adopted by the industry players, okay? Because the conduct of these so-called contracts have addressed the common problems and shortcomings, okay? Yes, anything you want to ask? Are there anything you want to ask? No, no? By the way, so can you all follow my lectures? Okay. You cannot see. Okay, I'll do one more time, the screen share. So can see or not now? So can you see now? Can you see now? The screen share? Okay, I won't be jumping back already because once I jump back to the so-called my Microsoft Team, maybe the screen share again, so-called disturb again. Okay, so I will keep on continuing on this until the break. I will go back again, then I'll do the screen share one more time. Each time I go back to reset the screen share. Okay. So I hope you can hear me now and see the screen, isn't it? If not, let me know. At least one of you can talk to the phone. I can pick up. Okay. Yeah. So these are the advantages of using the standard form. Point number one is they are negotiated among the parties, so it's a balanced document. Okay. And then all the shortcoming and pitfall previously they encountered already resolved. Okay. And also it's supposed to be fair. That is based on equitable principle. That means a fair principle. And supposed to allocate the risk among the parties in a balanced manner. Okay. So, and it is time tested. Okay. So, because it's the industry for many years already. Because the standard form for this PAM it started in 1969. Can you imagine 1969 we had the standard form and revised until now is 2018. How many years is already being in use? Okay. So if it's time tested, then it will lead to efficient management of the contract and minimize dispute. I won't say prevent dispute, I minimize claims and dispute in the administration of the project. Okay. And why it can be useful in a sense? Because a lot of interpretation is by judges. Okay. So a body of case law and judicial pronouncements already been made. Everyone is aware of the interpretation of the wordings in the contract. That is very important. Please remember, any interpretation dispute between party A and party B can only be finalized by the judge. Okay, so if anybody dispute ultimately on interpretation of the contract terms and condition, ultimately is the judge will give the ultimate answers. Other parties like the consultants, like the contractors, whoever, their interpretation of the meaning are not recognized unless it is by the judge. So the judge is doing it by case law. See, so the case law they interpret for you, so you know exactly, you know, what is the meaning there, unless it is being override or overturned by a new case again. Okay, yeah. So with all these so-called terms known, so the filling up of the contracts and negotiation and everything will be much faster. So these are the advantages of using the standard form. Okay, so now the question is, you need to ask yourself, okay, why you need to understand this. Why you need to understand the advantages. Okay, so this is for you to think through. We will discuss more could be in the tutorial and so on. Okay, so why you need to understand this? That means the advantages. Similarly, why you need to understand the so-called the disadvantages. Similarly, you need to understand why you need to follow the. You need to know the disadvantages. Okay, so so what are disadvantages? Number one, there's a possibility the standard form is actually in conflict with the basic law of contract. The standard form is imposed by the parties drafting it. Okay, so there is no freedom to contract. So this is one of the negative aspects. Okay, so this is a disadvantage. Okay, so and then the standard form is actually cannot cover everything. It just covers some portion of it. It is a fallacy. The standard form can cover everything. It is never true. Okay, it only covers certain part of it only. Okay, this point number 2. Okay, so and point number 3. More often than not, some of the terms and condition there is imposed by one party to the other. Arm twisting or economic duress, we call it. That means you force onto the others, which is very common. I will go through this one when we cover in the later topics. So just temporary now. Now these are the potential advantages and disadvantages of using the standard form. Okay. So, and also earlier we said advantages, they are fair, but actually it is not fair. So these are the disadvantages. Okay, you apportion the risk among themselves is not correct. It is a myth. It is a myth. I hope you understand the term myth. Okay, so this is another disadvantages. And on top of that, standard form sometimes is drafted in very difficult terms because in legalese. Okay, in a very complex language, a lot of us may not able to understand after reading it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Also, you don't know. So they require legal specialists to interpret all these things. Okay, so more often than not, these are the problems. So then, as usual, why you need to understand the disadvantage of standard form. So we'll go through this one when we have the tutorial to get a better understanding. Okay, yeah. Next, we are looking at, since we mentioned the standard form is sometimes is so good, and yet why there are problems when standard form is used. Okay, so why there are problems? Sometimes you can see that whether you use your PEM or JKR or your FIDIC, okay, there are still problems. And what are the root cause of the problem? This is important. These are the usual cause of the problem in using standard form. So what happened? Also, until now, you cannot see the screen share. Can you see the screen share? A lot of you, who still cannot see the screen share? Can you see the screen share? Some of you can, some of you cannot. Is it correct? Okay, I try to do it one more time. I do it one more time again. I stop the screen share and then I set it back again. I don't know. It's very strange. Usually I don't have such problems. Okay. I stop the screen share. I go back again. So can you see now? Can you see now? Or maybe you have to reset your computer. Yeah. Can you see now the screen share? Okay, for those who haven't a screen, haven't, I will afterwards, during the break, I will put up the QR code, then you can still scan. Is it okay? Don't worry, I haven't update. You won't see properly. See? But later on, when I download the so-called Microsoft Team, the attendance, your name are there. I will try to reconcile the two. Okay, don't worry. Because Microsoft Team, once you enter, your name will be there already. Okay, the scanning partner is just for you to help me for automatic registration. Okay, so after you will see the screen share. No, sorry, you will see the numbers are updated. So currently I haven't updated. Okay, so is it okay? Can I continue with the lectures? Can I continue? So now is it okay? Can you see now? Also cannot see until now. So you can't hear me. It's very strange. Huh? Can you check your volume? Is it been shut already? Your volume control? No? Yeah, okay. Freda can hear, can see. Yeah, no? Can see. You can't hear. Leong Hon Lam. Can you hear now? Leong Hon Lam? So I will doing the screen share later on because once I go back to the so-called Microsoft team, then the screen share is cut off again. During the break, I will show to you the QR code now for you to scan. Okay, don't worry. After we stop for a few minutes for you to scan. It's okay. I continue with the lectures. I can't finish. Okay. Yeah. So the possible causes of Okay, there's a feedback about those two groups entering. Maybe you're going to use the channel. You don't use the channel. You must go to the general. Okay, because lectures are under the general section. Tutorial is under your channel. Okay, it's okay. If you want, I will go out again and then come back. No? As proposed by Ng Xin Yin. Okay, so I go out. No? I restart the whole thing. Okay. Close the session. I then on again. Okay, then you all have to. Wow. The scanning part is not a problem because it's captured by. But once I go out, then the QR, the Excel registration of your attendance by this Microsoft team. You have to enter one more time, every one of yours. Okay, I will go out now.